All right. Hello, friends. This is Sujit. Welcome to this Satva Fund Sri Lanka webinar. Thank you for joining us from across the US, Sri Lanka, Australia, and France. We are delighted that you have done so. Special thanks to our presenters for being with us today. We have a full agenda, and since we want to keep this to 1 hour, we'll get going. First of all, how did Satva come about? So back in early 2022, Krishan and I had this discussion about creating a more formal way to fund projects to help the truly needy and most vulnerable in Sri Lanka. We had both been supporting projects in Sri Lanka for several decades, but we were interested in creating a more structured way to do so. We were already seeing the signs of Sri Lanka's economic woes sweeping across the country, and were acutely aware of the crushing economic burdens faced by a large swath of the population. We then contacted Shireen, and she was super enthusiastic about joining us in this effort. We then had Nilakshi and Sonali come on board as board members. And I just wanted to emphasize what a privilege it is for me to work alongside these friends on these Satva projects in Sri Lanka. It is truly an honor. Thank you, guys. In formulating the mission for Satva, we were all in agreement that we should focus intensely on people and organizations that fall below the radar when it comes to securing assistance from large organizations and individuals. This meant we would have to devote more time to identify suitable projects and also devote more time to track these projects. But we decided that was going to be Satva's mission. Our next goal was identifying the areas Satva would support, and we decided on the following: community meals, child protection, children with special needs, education, essential medicines, animal welfare, basic home construction, and sustainable agriculture. Our next step was getting Satva's legal status sorted out. In September 22, we registered Satva as a charity and incorporated as a nonprofit organization in the state of Nevada. In October 22, Satva received approval from the Federal Internal Revenue Service, the IRS, as an organization exempt from federal income tax under Section 501c3 of the Internal Revenue Code. Finally, in October and November 22, we also registered Satva as a charitable organization within the states of Georgia, New Jersey, and New York. Satva was now ready to launch projects in Sri Lanka. Satva's IRS 501c3 status made contributions tax deductible, and in certain instances, these contributions eligible for corporate matches. We have been so fortunate to receive such overwhelming support from so many around the US, for which we are extremely grateful. I will now hand over to Shireen so that she can provide some additional details about some of the projects that Satva has been working on. Thank you.
Thanks, Sujit, and good morning and good evening, everyone. Thanks so much for joining us. Thanks so much to our speakers for making the time. And let me just tell you a little bit about our projects and a bit on the financial side, and then we'll jump into our presentations. We're so grateful that we have these 5 organizations with us to give you a feel for the kind of work that Satva Fund supports, and that your donations are making possible. In addition to these 5, we have also supported several other projects. So things like providing meals to patients and caregivers seeking outpatient treatment at Kandy Cancer Hospital. We funded the construction of 20 sanitary toilets for tea plantation workers with the Plantation Human Development Trust, and provided computers, school supplies, and equipment to rural schools in areas like Monaragala, Kegal, Dikoya, and Gurupokuna. So we stay in regular touch with organizations that we support to track their progress, to really understand their needs and the context that they work in, and to understand the impact that they are having with our funds. And then when we are in Sri Lanka, ourselves, we try to visit the offices or the sites at which the work is happening. There is, such a lot of amazing and underfunded work that is happening in Sri Lanka. And what we can support is a direct result of the funds we can raise and your generosity. In our first year of operation, 2023, we were proud to have set a goal of $25,000 and then exceed it by raising $40,000. And this year, we set our goal at $40,000. We have been especially happy that because of our 501c3 status, we have also been able to leverage corporate matching gifts because of our donors who work in companies like Starbucks or Merck, GE, Microsoft. In 2023, we raised about $5,000 in corporate matches, and we estimate that this year we will raise between $8,000 and $10,000 in corporate matches. So this is really, a fantastic thing, this kind of leverage of funding for Sri Lanka. And another point I'd like to mention is that Satva Fund has nearly zero administrative costs because the 5 of us on the board are all volunteers. We volunteer our time and our skills. And our very minimal expenses are related to things like our website, which is done by a small company in Sri Lanka, and things like bookkeeping software, right? So very, very small amount. Administrative costs are close to zero. So now, with many, many thanks for your generous support, let me turn to Nilakshi to introduce our first speaker. Over to you, Nilakshi.
Thank you, Shireen. Our first speaker is Milani Salpitikorala. She is an attorney at law and senior legal consultant who is the founder of Child Protection Force, an organization dedicated to assisting children who have experienced abuse and neglect and require support within the legal system. Child Protection Force is faced with growing urgent needs, and Satva Fund began providing the organization with monthly financial support in May 2024. Milani, to you.
Thank you, Nilakshi. Thank you, Shireen, first of all, for reaching out, and thank you for inviting me here. I'm just going to get into it, and I am going to speak the brutal truth. There may be some case details that I may discuss, which may be a little bit traumatic, so I just have to inform before I start. CPS started in 2017. We are on our 8th year of work, and we started off initially just as a legal aid service for child survivors of crime. So after our first few cases, I realized that we need a lot of mental health assistance, not only for the child, but also for the family, whoever is the kinship care of the child survivor. Then in 2021 or so, 2021, when the lockdown and COVID and right after the Easter attacks, we came across a lot of cases of domestic violence, domestic abuse within the home environment, and where there were a lot of physical rescues that we had to do. So during the COVID lockdown, fortunately, we have a lawyer ID, which was a pass to move around. So we did a lot of rescues, and then came another problem of how are we going to, we rescue them, and then we need to place them somewhere. So early this year, we also started a safe house for survivors of crime, women and children. I will explain to you what we do as we move on. I'm not going to go slide by slide. I will just speak about the most important facts, considering the time I have. So these are some basic statistics from Sri Lanka. In 2019, I helped write a report for the Census Department in collaboration with the Probation Department for children in care institutions in Sri Lanka. And in that report, at that time in 2019, there were 10,700 or so children who are institutionalized. But right now, after COVID, after the Easter attacks, and after the financial crisis here in Sri Lanka, I believe that is doubled or tripled at least. And the systems in our homes, Chathuri knows very well about the systematic abuse that happens within childcare institutions in Sri Lanka. We currently have few cases of about 10 or 15 children who have been subject to crime within the institution. And of course, a lot of labor. So a lot of the children within the estate communities who take a bus and come to Colombo. And then in this whole Colombo PETA environment where children are employed in various shops. And again, a lot of abuse, physical and sexual within this labor environment also. So we know of a lot of child exploitation rings that happen where children are even exported out of the country for various forms of exploitation. So it could be sexual, but not always. Also for organ donating, and within the European, when children are taken to that area of the world, we know about the gangs when children are employed into gangs, and these are the sole purposes of adopting children and so on, which is why our foreign adoption systems are very stringent. But also, I mean, there are two sides of our adoption system. And again, within the Islam community, where the child marriages, then female genital mutilation, all these are still very prevalent in Sri Lanka, around the coastal communities, and a lot of incest within these communities of children being exploited again. So basic problem right now. Again, with the rise of AI and online exploitation of children, countries like Sri Lanka are targeted countries for online sexual exploitation of children. We don't call it pornography anymore. We call it CSAM, child sexual abuse material, where it is produced. And at one time, I was made aware of it, but with the extremely low power and our hands being tied, we weren't able to get involved in it, where there was a whole load of tourists coming in to manufacture CSAM here in Sri Lanka so that these can be sold online. And a lot of, again, children with the lack of knowledge of online safety and everything, where children are now moving on to selling their own pictures. And so again, we come down to education and I suppose sexual reproductive health rights, online abuse education, which is lacking in our country within the education system. And I can show you in the next slide of what a typical system is like. So this was drawn by myself. When a child goes into a police station, so I will take the typical example of the child who was raped by 22 boys in a school down south. I am speaking of it because we are currently handling the case and we provide them with legal, psychological, and safe housing. So in this particular case also, when the child was, I mean, within the school environment, initially they didn't take action. It went on even longer because the school refused to take action. And when it went to the police station, so the first reaction of the police was to blame the victim. And I have been in places with victims within police stations where the initial reaction is to blame the victim or to say that the victim is lying. And the victim will have to repeat their story at least 5 to 6 times within a police station. And that itself can take about a whole day to sit in the police station. And sometimes Let's say it's a mother who is going with the victim. She has another breastfeeding baby. She has another child. So all these things are, in Sinhalese, we call it katta kanawa. A lot of time and energy wasted of the victim, when most of the time the accused comes in, makes a statement, or is arrested and immediately released on bail. So within 24 hours, our law will allow an accused to come out on bail. Thereafter, a child is taken to the JMO, to the probation office, all these places where the story is repeated at least 2-3 times per office. This particular child, 16-year-old, who was raped by 22 boys, at the point of, so the third place here, probation office. So at that point, she already said, I now no longer want to live because I'm sick of repeating the story to so many people. Then the case went into magistrate's court, and at the court level, so it was, the jurisdiction is in the south, her area, and there were 22 boys. So somebody, one of these, somebody knows somebody. And all the state officers, including the probation officers, the police officers, the NCPOs, the medical officers, everyone took the side of the accused and not the side of the victim. And the victim was harassed and harassed systematically. And this is something that Child Protection Force is really trying to fight against. So kind of riding against the tide, but I will explain to you how we have succeeded. So if you look at the last comment down here, it says final order given after 10 to 15 years. This is a normal time, so it could take even longer. And most of the time, these children are adults. They've studied, they want to go abroad, or they've got married and they don't want to come back to court. And almost always an accused is acquitted because the evidence is lost along the way, the witnesses are lost along the way, the media goes to town initially, and a lot of the evidence is released out in media. And in the next slide, everyone except the child will make decisions. So in this particular case, Thanamalwila case, where this girl was taken into the system, she was taken into a childcare institution. So I don't know whether you know the geographical locations in Sri Lanka, but I'll just tell you. So the case happened in Thanamalwila. The court is in Wellavaya, so that's about a 1.5 hour bus ride. The probation office is in Tisamaharama, again another 1.5 hours bus ride. Mind you, they have a 9-month-old baby as well and 11-year-old son. And then they have to go to the Hambantota police also because a lot of things happened there. And the child was institutionalized in a home in Bandarawela. About a 2-hour ride in the bus, 2 or 3 hour ride in the bus for this family to visit the child, and they're not allowed to talk to the child face to face. It's behind bars, the child is behind bars and the parents are on this side, and that's the only way they can speak to the child. And all these, including the magistrate who refused to listen to the lawyer representing the victim, that is us, to say, release the child to the parents, because this is what the Colombo psychiatric unit said, to release her to the parents and let her study for her O-levels, which is coming up in January. The courts refused to do that. She was in this home for 2 weeks crying because she was being abused inside. So we fired shots everywhere, created so much of pressure within the government and the attorney generals. And we officially wrote to the attorney generals and said, the entire state authorities within that area jurisdiction is supporting the accused. So it is mandatory that the attorney general comes to court. So it is only after the attorney general came, even though there were protests outside, there were a lot of pressure outside, the judiciary refused to take the side of the victim. And only after the attorney general came that they wanted to listen to the side of the victim and release the child to our safe house for her to finish her exams. And of course, we are now trying to find a suitable home for the parents and the other children. We found them the school. And now we are, of course, waiting till we find enough funds to relocate them and reintegrate them, and for the child to start studying for her exams. Yeah, so we always work on the best interests of the child, and that is what our main goal is. And what we want to do is reduce or minimize the secondary victimization, which happens through the system. We do this through a lot of training workshops. We have trained about 800 to 1,000 police officers now, but within the 8 years in operation, we have trained a lot of national child protection officers, probation officers. Unfortunately, this year, we couldn't do any trainings except for some trainings with awareness programs we have done in schools for children and parents. And of course, thanks to Satva, we have been able to expand our services by way of location, which I will also show you later. And what we do in the next slide, Shireen, please. Slide. No. Yeah. So with the legal aid and advocacy, legal aid is our main function. And so it's in the case, just do what they have to do. Our legal aid provides a lot of survivors. Most of them are really to see the
Shireen, I think we've lost Milani, right?
Yes, I think we have lost Milani, and that's unfortunate. I know that the weather is very bad in Colombo, so I don't know if it was related to that. Should we, I'm sure Milani will rejoin us when she can, but Nilakshi, should we move to the next?
here.
She's back, right?
Oh, yeah.
Milani,
Yes.
go
Sorry,
ahead.
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So, like I was saying, it is mostly the legal aid, but then also where now the state has invited us to make representations within the state. We have made a lot of representations to the former president's committee on crimes against children to stop crimes against children. So a lot of recommendations, and we have also been appointed at the board member at the National Child Protection Authority. So in a way, with regard to the police working with law enforcement, there's been a lot of progress in our work, trying to change and also trying to implement a lot of policies, standard operating procedures, especially with sensitive interviews and the sensitivity with regard to these cases. And we also have a mental health unit. Every client who walks into CPF will go through whatever mental health assistance they need. So it's not just typical or a session with a psychologist, which is always available, but whatever they want. I will show you pictures of how with Satva's help, we are able to now provide a play therapy room for the children. And we have, I mean, the children themselves wanted me to draw rainbows and everything here. So it's a picture on the right top corner. It's just a small picture. I had a nice video also we can show you. I will share with you later. So where we want to create that play therapy room, and we also want to create that room for the children of the survivors of domestic abuse who have now been reintegrated, but if they have to go to work, their children can come into our child-friendly space and wait for mom to pick them up in the evening when we go back home. The picture in the middle is on my birthday, the children at the safe house who had a surprise party for me. And this is a love I get every day. I like to wear a lot of bracelets, so they go crazy over my bracelets. And all these kids are now in school in Colombo. The lady at the back is a survivor of domestic abuse who was thrown out on the streets and was on the streets for about a week. This is our new office space. In the rest of the pictures, now we have a bigger space. and more comfort for our clients, again, thanks to Satva. So a lot of this, we have quite a few donors who are interested in the safe house. Most of the time they would come and donate clothes and food, but our challenge is most of the time with the operational costs that we have to incur in order to even keep the safe house running. So very much in short, I mean, I've taken more than I'm supposed to take. So very much in short, that is what we do here in Sri Lanka. So mostly legal aid, psychological assistance, safe housing, and reintegration plan for child and women survivors of crime. Thank you.
Thank you, Milani. Thank you very much for the detailed and eye-opening explanation of what's going on in Sri Lanka. So I just want to let everybody know, in the interest of time, we'll take everyone's questions after all our presenters have spoken. So if you have anything, just make sure you jot it down. At this point, I'd like to introduce Roshan Samarawickrama. Roshan is a people-focused leader with over 18 years of experience in the disability sector in Sri Lanka. As Program Director of ECSAT, he has driven significant growth and performance improvements, earning ECSAT the award for Best Charitable Organization for Child Development in Sri Lanka in 2021. Roshan holds a bachelor's degree in psychology from the University of Peradeniya and master's degrees from the University of Colombo and the University of Ganepola. He is currently pursuing a master's degree in disability policy practice and leadership at the Flinders University in Australia. Roshan, it's up to you. You're muted, my friend.
Yeah. Let me share my screen first. Okay. All right, can you all see my presentation now? Okay, yeah, thank you very much. And I'm so pleased to be connected for this webinar. And I'll be trying my level best to as brief as possible my presentation. And if you have any questions, please feel free to ask later. And we are a registered charity in Sri Lanka. We started in 2005. Since our beginning, we have been implementing project for people with disabilities in Sri Lanka. So since the beginning, we have been implementing a number of different projects, but currently we have 6 projects. Basically, we implement in southern part of Sri Lanka, Galle and Matara. Only Galle and Matara district, because still we have no capacity to go beyond that. So basically, education, vocational training, therapy, outreach, and also we have a special project, a school project, which we implement joint hand with Ministry of Education in Southern Province, and also the autism project. So from this side onward, I will be only talking about the project that we have been supported by Satva Fund. So which is the autism project, which I started as an pilot project. Because I have been writing proposals for many different donors for more than, almost a year, but none of the donors did not approve my project proposal because it was very small, and also they wanted me to finish it within a period of time, 1 year or 6 months. But given that cultural stigma in Sri Lanka and also the given situation for people with disabilities in Sri Lanka, I could not finish it like a diploma course in HR or BA degree in psychology or something like that, because with the lack of understanding and lack of facilities and the stigma, we really wanted to make sure that I will be able to support them longer, at least until they come into some, level of, until they develop a level of skills for them to lead an independent life. So thank you to Satva and thank you very much for Sujit, believing in me and my organization and approved the fund for me to implement this project and support these children and the parents. So when I write the proposal to Satva, I had a couple of objectives, basically to improve the skills of children with disabilities, especially the autism and hyperactive and ADHD, and develop their skills in communication, sensory, and social and life skills, along with empowering parents by giving trainings and providing, awareness raisings, and also giving them respite. As you know that when it comes to Sri Lanka, like it's the mother like who ended up with like providing care for children. But when it comes to disability, my God, it's worse because they have to, go through all the hustles and all the hurdles along with all the household work. So we really wanted, like I have heard like a lot of stories, not the happy and pleasurable stories, very sad stories. And I really wanted to like make sure that they will have a respite if we are starting a project to support them. So with the Satva Fund, actually, this is what we have done. So I'm so happy to tell that the 60 children with autism, especially the autism like level 3, plus who have like ADHD are involved with this project. And also we have some other disabilities as well. As you know that disability does not come as a, like, the clear-cut autism or clear-cut ADHD. It comes as a package. Always disability is a complex thing, and one child has 1 or 2 disabilities. So autism also the same. I have 3 blind children who are autistic plus hyperactive. So it's very difficult to work with them, and they have been like, neglected by the society and even by their immediate family members. So this is what we have achieved, thank to Satva Fund. So 60 children are involved in, and so far, up to date, we have conducted 1,274 sessions, and we have done 68 sensory development activities, and also 13 children receiving weekly speech and language therapy support, and also we provide 899 meals. Actually, the reason why I added the meals into this project was that, no matter how old they are in my country, the overprotecting parental system style, they try to like do everything for the child. When it's come to disability, even like, 22-year-old man, still mom is the person who's feeding. So we really wanted to like support them to learn how to improve their daily living skills. So we use these meals to train them also, for them to have a good chance to share the meals together. And 18 parents meeting have been conducted so far, and 11 events we have organized, and also we conducted 3 parents training. And due to our minimum resources, 18 children are in the waiting list. We cannot accommodate in our class activities. So these are the figures, and these figures has meaning. And 7 children, we could get them to schools and the preschool together. When they came to ECSAT, they are in the super severe ADHD level. No one want to even like keep them for 5 minutes, because most of them, when they come to center, and even we could not do the assessment with them because they were running and throwing things, and it's very difficult for us to adapt them. But now 7 of them accepted by the school, 4 of them from the school and 3 from them the preschools in the local area. So which is one of the great achievements that through this project that we have done so far. And also 8 children started to communicate. Most of the autistic children are nonverbal, but through our speech and language therapy and other communication techniques that we used, we could get them to start communication, which is one of the great progress that we made. And also 2 parents found jobs. And these parents have been providing 24 hours care, and they never thought of going to a job. And they are in a they are living with a very financial difficulties. And to found job because now they are going to school, and also there are some other people who are willing to care their children while these parents are at work. Initially, that none of them wanted to support them. And 12 children now progress into the go to the group sessions, because whenever they come to ECSAT, we provide one-to-one support. So that is why we have to start with a limited number of children. So as they develop, then only we can put them into a group, and then only we can like make space to accommodate new children. So we have a lot of success stories behind our work, because we start this project in March 2023. But currently we have a lot of success stories. And I thought of sharing one story with this presentation. This little boy, actually this is the real photos, and the name and everything is real because I got the consent of the parents to use their name and detail in my presentation. So Ibath is a lovely looking boy, but when he came to ECSAT, he was very difficult, one of the very difficult child for us to work with, because it's level 3 autism, and also he's having super hyperactive behavior. And when he came, no eye contact at all. He's completely nonverbal, very aggressive. He's smashing whatever the thing that he get into his hand, he's smashing. And the very first day, he broke one stand fan in ECSAT and one laptop. Because while we are doing the assessment, he just smashed one laptop on the table. So it was very difficult to work with him. And the father was like telling that mother, it was the mother reason why they got the child like this. And he was about to divorce this mom. And mom was going to commit suicide. And I was the counselor for her. And we were able to support her to overcome from her all the problems. And also we could support the child to improve his skills. Actually, when we start with the work, when we start to work with Ibath, our first goal was to make him to do any seated activity from 0 to 30 seconds. So cut short the story. Now he is going to school in one of the very famous school in Gaul, Richmond College. Now he is in the school. And also that family reunite, and mom is pregnant again. So we are very happy to see this progress, and this is one story. And thank you to Satva Fund. All the children like who are with ECSAT now, autism and hyperactive, they are doing really well. And lot of children are really waiting to come into the center, but still we cannot accept them due to the minimum resources. So this is Ibath when he is at ECSAT. This is what Ibath's mom told me. I never thought that my son will get an opportunity to go to school. Even I was scared to dream about it. It has been rejected everywhere. I still can't understand how ECSAT changed my son. Not only ECSAT gave me a hope to live again. More than that, you people gave me a reason for me to live. And I don't know how to thank, but I always ask Allah to bless you all. So thank you very much for the Satva Fund for giving these funds for us to support these families. And Fatuma is one person like who we have supported. But there are many Fatumas in Gaul and Araliya who need our support, who need Satva Fund support. So thank you so much. This is what we believe. Nobody deserves to be denied friends and education. So thank you very much for Satva Fund and all the donors for giving us support to do this such a grateful work for them. If you have any question, you can ask at the end of the presentation or the session. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Roshan, for the wonderful work that you're doing, and Satva is honored to be a part of your project. And now I have the pleasure of introducing Varuni Ganepola. Varuni Ganepola is a professor of psychology and a co-founder of Araliya Trust. She has been involved in the work of Araliya Trust since it was established in 2004. She is a part of a small team at Araliya Trust that believes and knows that giving matters. Satva Fund began supporting Araliya Trust in April 2023 and has expanded our support over time. Varuni, on to you.
Thank you very much, Sonali. Whilst I was listening to the two presenters, I was actually thinking I'm so glad that I'm here tonight, because it truly is a celebration of humanity. And this is what philanthropy is about. The meaning of philanthropy is love of humanity, or love of the welfare of others, our desire to improve the welfare of others. And sessions like this truly remind people like us the importance of the work that we do. At the Araliya Trust, at our AGMs and at our meetings, we always tell our audience that the board of trustees, and we only have 4 of us, 3 of my friends and myself, we are such a tiny part that can only do so much. It's the work really supported by a bigger group of people, the donors like the Satva Foundation, but also a large number of other people who make this work possible for people like us. So to Satva Foundation, thank you very much for taking us on board from 2023. Shireen, thank you very much for the opportunity to speak a little bit about the Araliya Trust, and thank you to your team here as well. We were registered in 2004, so this is really our 20th year. We began in Anuradhapura district, which is in the North Central province. We started at a time, as you can see, which was fraught with so much violence and so much bloodshed in the country. So this is sort of the height of the war, when there was such a lot of hardship for people. Now, at that time, the dropout rate, the school dropout rate in the country, and I think this was the 2001-2002 census, or perhaps a little bit later, was 4%. The national dropout rate was 4%. But the dropout rate in the north was 51%, especially in Varuni. The school dropout rate was 29% in Anuradhapura, and the dropout rate was 45% in Mathura. So you can see that, Mathura did not have a war, the civil conflict, but you can see that obviously districts like that have also suffered a great deal in different ways. And some of these have been war-related. We started in Anuradhapura in 2004. We took on board, we started with 10 children. We took on board villages also that were called border villages. These were villages bordering the direct conflict. So we started with 10 kids and 1,000 rupees, that's all. But subsequently, we expanded to other areas. Today, we are in Madavachiya, we are in a small village, and that is a border village called Yakavava in Kabitigollava. We also expanded to Mathura in 2008, and Babunia in 2010, and more recently in Polonnaruwa. At the moment, we are supporting 86 students. This number varies. We generally don't take on board more than 100 children because of the nature of the way we work. So we are a very small group. My other 3 trustees, the 4 of us in the team, there's Nilakshi, Michelle, Ramali, and myself. And what we basically do is we try not to let children drop out from school, largely due to financial reasons. So that really is the main purpose of the Araliya Trust. So when we started, we didn't want the brightest children, because we felt that the brightest children always had some support of some sort, formal or informal. So we don't actually go looking for children who are academically the brightest. We support children who show potential in something, or who are willing to put effort into their work. As a psychologist, there's a lot of literature out there on intelligence versus effort. And if someone were to give me a choice, if I had a choice between intelligence and effort, I will actually go for effort. Because you can learn to be intelligent. So, our definition of education is rather broad. We support children who show promise, let's say, in a vocation, who are good in sports or like sports, music, craft, any skill. So it's basically improving life opportunities for these children. So that's sort of the broad definition or the interpretation of our work. The strength of the work we do, as we see, has been in what we call our monitors. A monitor is a friend of ours, and they live and work in the areas where these children are from. So they're like the backbone of what we do. They identify the villages, the needy families for us, because they know these families. They live in these areas. So they send us a needs form with certain information, and we take a decision to support them. So far, we haven't really rejected many needs forms. There's a handful, but we largely take on board the children that they recommend to us. So the monitor, as I said, is a trusted friend of the trust. So we have, at the moment, we have 3 such monitors in Anuradhapura district, and we have 1 in Matara. And our monitor in Vavunia is we're phasing out our work in Vavunia. So we function with a very small group of people. So the selection is done after the needs assessment form is submitted, and we have no issue with race, ethnicity, religion, or anything like that, as you can see on the slide. We do give preference to families that have special needs. Almost all the families that we are supporting are low-income families. Some of them are single-parent families. In the village of Kabitigollava, I don't know if you are familiar with what happened in Kabitigollava or how it came into limelight. This was in 2006 when a bus was blown up. The whole village of Yakabava was in that one bus attending a funeral, and it was blown up. It was actually blown up by accident. The LTT thought that it was an army bus. It wasn't, and it was blown up. And so it was a real tragedy. And we didn't step in immediately. It was a few months after that one of our monitors in Anuradhapura said, look, this family, this village is in a really bad way. The support that they saw initially is now waning. So much to be done. Can we do something? So that is when we stepped in. This is just a very rough drawing of how the support is given. So if we look at the first chart, you can see where these children are roughly from. So most of them are from Anuradhapura, as you can see. And the second chart shows us what we spend the money on. So we do have quite a large number of university students, A-level students, and so on. Next slide, Shireen. So if we look at long-term impacts, so we've been doing this trust work for 20 years. We see tremendous educational attainment, and we don't expect every student to finish or to go to university. We don't even expect every student to finish A-level. What we want them is at least go up to O-level where they have some qualification instead of dropping out. So we are happy if a child finishes O-level. We are tremendously happy if they go up to A-levels, and we are ecstatic if they go into university. So educationally, we've seen such a lot of positive change. Professionally, if I were to read, if I were to give you some information of what these students have done. So we have 2 bankers, 1 food technologist, 1 vet. We have seen 6 doctors, 2 lawyers, 10 graduate trained teachers. We also have 32 university graduates. This is in the past. Something like 70 plus children have made it to A-levels, and 94 children have made it to O-levels. We also have a young boy from Anuradhapura who is now in the CID. We have an army major, we have a musician. We also have trained professionals like masons and air condition repair people. We also have an IT graduate who from Mathura who went to Singapore, and he's currently working in New Zealand. We also have a young man who is in the hospitality trade in Dubai. So there's been tremendous success as far as we see, and we are really happy. I think one of our biggest success stories really is in this last bullet point where, and the last two bullet points really, where some of the children, and off the top of my head, I think about 4 children that we have supported have become sponsors themselves. And one young boy that we supported from Madhubachia today is one of our monitors. So we're so happy when things like this happen, because these are also the torchbearers who will carry out our work after us. So, not only have they received, but they're also they're very keen to be part of the giving themselves. So I think I might end there. Shireen, if there are questions from anybody, I'd be more than happy to answer at the end. Thank you so much again.
Thank you, Varuni. Your success stories are so beautiful to hear and warms my heart. I'm sure people are going to have questions and comments at the end. At this point, I'd like to introduce Bishop Dhiloraj Canagasabey. Bishop, after receiving his initial training at the Theological College in Pilamatalawa, Bishop Dhiloraj earned his Bachelor of Theology and Bachelor of Divinity degrees from the University of Serampore in India. He was consecrated the 15th Anglican Bishop of the Diocese of Colombo, Church of Ceylon in May 2011. And Bishop Dhiloraj served in this capacity through September 2020, when he retired. Bishop Emeritus Dhiloraj continues to tend to his flock in multiple capacities across Sri Lanka still. Bishop.
Thank you very much for this introduction. You may wonder as to why I got interested in Satva Fund. 26 years ago, when I was just a young priest, I met a very poor boy from the Kira Kotua, where they pluck the leafy vegetables to be sold, who lived in the slums of Kirulapona in a 10 by 10 planked house. His father was a drain sweeper in the urban council, and their mother a cook woman who went from house to house cooking for people. My contact with this little boy till he finished his advanced work was such that more than what I could give, the potential that he had within himself enabled him to blossom and bear fruit. Today, he's a graduate of the University of Colombo who majored in management and business studies, a double accountant who did his CIMA as well as chartered accountancy. And today he is a regional manager, not a country manager, but a regional manager of a leading airline based at Melbourne, Australia. This really brought into my mind the need to give a little push for any child who has the potential to study and to come up in life. And this motivated me to seek ways and means to help the poor, the needy, the vulnerable children who could really achieve greater heights if we are there to back them up. I'm grateful to Sujit Kanagaratna who connected me with Satva Fund. And I wish to thank all those who contribute towards this noble task. In my faith and in my saying, I would say, A crown unfading awaits you in heaven for your sacrificial giving. There are 3 teenagers and 4 children whom we are funding with the funds that come from Satva Fund. Jerome Stanley, Isuru, and Seth Lassit. I will first talk about these 3 boys. Jerome comes from a lower middle class family. His father is the only breadwinner, thus driving for an institution with a very low salary. The income is not enough to maintain the family and feed the children. Mother is very sickly and she is in and out of the hospital. I helped him financially to study at STC Bandaravula, who did very well in his AL exam. And then by the financial assistance rendered by Satva Fund, is now completing a higher national diploma program in computing and software engineering. And he'll be stepping into the degree program called Business Information System. He concludes his degree in November 2025. As many of the software engineers have left Sri Lanka seeking greener pastures, there is a shortage for software engineers, and I'm confident that Jerome will be able to get a very good job and to stand on his feet and to support his family. His degree is given by the as ICBT, an Associate College of Cardiff Metropolitan University in UK. The other student is Seth Lasita, whose parents are both deaf, wearing hearing aids for both their ears. After Lasita was born, he couldn't speak for about 3 years. We took him to a speech therapist who, after discovering that he too was short of hearing, helped him to lip read and speak with the help of 2 hearing aids. He managed to go through all his studies and to do very well in his ordinary level examination. And then he wanted to do a diploma called Diploma in Multimedia, financed by Satva Fund. He hopes to further his education to attain a degree. The third, Isru Johan, hails from an underprivileged who is in degree program at the Chathuri University, funded by Satva Fund. He says, before I could start my work, I had to rely on tutoring to finance my studies. However, with the timely assistance the Satva Fund provided, I was afforded invaluable opportunities and ample time to delve into various industries and pursue diverse courses. I'm truly grateful to Satva Fund, he says, for being the guiding force that has not only lightened my financial burdens, but has also paved the way for me to explore new horizons in my academic and professional endeavors. Currently, I am doing my 2nd year at the university and also engaging myself in a software project for 1 year with an IT company called Pegaro. I'm ever grateful to Satva Fund. The other 4 children are doing very well. I always keep in touch with them. I visit them. I check their reports. And one of the girls from Haputale, who's a laborer's daughter, has done very well in her GC ordinary level examination results, which were out today. And she is now qualified to do her advanced level study. I was so happy to see that child because she started with almost 0. Math she got 8 and English she got 13, and that's how it was. But with the Satva Fund, that was she was able to go for extra classes and activity books, and question and answer papers were given, and she had done extremely well. So with that, I will stop. And if there are any questions that you would like to ask me, I'm willing to answer.
Bishop Dhiloraj, thank you so much for all the wonderful work that you do. We are honored to be a part of, or I would say we are honored to be a small part of all the great work that you do. Now it's my pleasure to introduce Chathuri Jayasooriya. Chathuri has 15 years of experience in the field of child rights advocacy and mental health and psychosocial support, both locally and regionally in Asia. She left the field of child rights in 2021 to follow her heart's calling in the field of energy psychology and spirituality. Chathuri, on to you.
Thank you so much. Good day and evening to all of you. Yeah, the slides. The first, can you go back to here, okay. So very briefly, let me just present what Drops of Light is. So it's not a registered organization. It's a community service, voluntary community service program that I initiated in 2014. So it's been one whole decade. So it's quite comparatively a very, very small scale program compared to all the other presenters and the work that they do, because it's been run by just two people, myself as the project owner and my field coordinator. So in terms of the work we do, it's kind of like a matching system that we adapt, in the sense we receive requests from the field, and I try to find donors who can support, or otherwise, if there are donors who are interested in a particular thematic area, let's say health or education, then I would try to find people, individuals and families from the ground who meet the specific criteria. So my focus is on populations, target groups that are what I call in the shadows, not under the purview of any other organization or program. And there are basically two categories of, let's say, people that I work with through Drops of Light. Unfortunately, there are people for various psychosocial reasons and factors who cannot be permanently pulled out of adversity, but they do need emergency support. And on the other hand, there are individuals and families who have potential, and with a little bit of support, who can be pulled out of adversity. So I try to maintain a balance between both these target groups. And basically, the focus is on the southern province because my field coordinator is based there. But we have, for example, supported over 800 families with a food support program during the economic crisis, for example, which covered about 4 provinces, including the north and east. So it depends really on, the requirement and our capacity and the donor support and things like that. So it's entirely voluntary, and all the, every last cent goes to the recipients or the beneficiaries. And I have a small group of donors, individual donors, who support me consistently. And Satva is one of the only 2 organizations who reached out to support the project. So I'm very grateful to Satva. Yeah. So I'll just focus on the specific initiatives that have been supported by Satva. So one of my projects is called Building Homes, Building Families, where we provide housing support. Either we build the entire house for a selected family, we have our own criteria, or we complete a partially built house. And in 2023, Satva supported the completion of 1 house for a single mother with 2 girls. Next, please. And one of those two girls, she was studying at the agricultural school in Labutua. So Satva provided accommodation support for her. And I'm very happy to say that currently she has completed the studies and she's in the process of completing her internship. And she's very happy with it and looking forward to securing permanent employment afterwards. And I have also been supporting her with certain mental health issues and things like that. And I'm sure that she would be the person who would sort of pull her family out of the situation that they are currently in. And this year, our focus is on supporting very promising A-level students who are from very difficult and disadvantaged backgrounds for the entire duration of their studies, and to provide a scholarship for tuition and transport. So we are supporting 10 such students, and Satva is supporting 3 of them from Mataragola and Hambantota for 20 to 30 months for a long period of time. Yeah, next. Yeah, so earlier this year, Satva provided stationery packs for 75 students from a very rural school in Monaragala. Yeah, next. Yeah, so I just wanted to make a special mention of my field coordinator, Miss Swarna Kanti. She is the Child Rights Promotion Officer, the Valigama Divisional Secretariat. And for me, she is the heart and soul of Drops of Light, because without her support, I wouldn't have been able to implement any of the initiatives, the projects that I have been carrying out for the last 10 years. And believe me, I have worked with like thousands of field officers, from various different fields over the 15 years I've been working in child protection. And I can tell you, like, she's the best ever government field level official I have been, privileged to work with. I met her actually during one of the research programs that I was conducting. And, she's an epitome of efficiency and commitment and courage and honesty, integrity, and much, much more. And I really believe that, field workers like her need to be given much more credit, honor, and respect. And, she handles everything from, coordination, administration to monitoring. All I have to do is to, find the funding support. So I'm really, really grateful and fortunate to have her as a as a support for my programs. I thought I just mentioned that. Is next, please. And so deep gratitude to all of you at Satva as well for your very generous and ready contributions to my project. Especially for the trust and faith you have placed on my work, because especially as an individually run voluntary program, my relationship with donors is quite strongly, I would say, based on trust and rapport. So I do absolutely everything possible from my end to ensure accountability on all fronts. And I'm very grateful for Satva for believing in this work. And it is only owing to the support of donors like you that we are able to illuminate the lives of these children, adults, and families who otherwise would often, and they do, most of the time, fall through the cracks very easily. And although small in scale, the difference and impact that we are making on the lives of one individual and family at a time is quite profound, I would say. And I can guarantee, from the feedback that I hear, and, every year I make monitoring visits, and also from what I observe as well, I can guarantee that for each of these individuals and families, this small difference means opening the doorway to a whole range of possibilities that they could only have dreamt of. So thank you so much from my heart for being a drop of light to so many. And thank you so much, Sujit, also for you, because for connecting me with Satva. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Chathuri, and thank you to all our speakers. All of you are really doing a lot of the hard work, right? That's, implementing a lot of these different programs and touching all these lives. I recognize that we are over time. If people are able to stay, we'd be happy to take 1 or 2 questions. Does anyone have a question out there? Okay, if not, we will make this recording available. We'll share it with all of you. Thank you very much for all of you for joining this webinar. This is the first time we've done this, and I think we'd look to do this a little bit more often as we have a few of these projects and some of the accomplishments that we can share with all of you, so you can see where a lot of your funds are how it's being used. Once again, thank you very much to all the speakers and to all of you for your contribution.